Well, Russ is on the line, but that's not.
Still a little early. You know, we've got a couple minutes left, so.
Yes, good morning, everyone. I want to thank you for attending our webinar this morning. We know at the end of this webinar, you'll feel more informed and empowered to take action to make your individual organizations as safe as can be to protect your vital company information and hard-earned dollars from cyber thieves. You'll learn about an industry that rakes in $500,000 a day in ransomware, phishing, and other nefarious scams that seem to pop up every day. No company is ever 100% secure, but you can put big roadblocks in place and train your employees to recognize scams and thwart the bad guys' efforts. According to Cibnet, a part of HackerU and a global education company on cybersecurity, they state that 95% of cybersecurity breaches are caused by human error. Well, I want to welcome Samantha Yip as our panelist today. Samantha is the Channel Success Manager for ID Agent and Bullfish, a Kaseya company. Samantha has had her own managed service company and really understands the security industry and the needs of the SMB market. You'll be able to put any questions in the chat. If we don't get to it live, we'll send an answer shortly after the webinar. So without further ado, here is Samantha. Take it away, Sam.
Thank you so much, Ron. Thank you so much again this morning for sharing some of your day with us. And exactly what Ron had mentioned in today's session, we are going to cover how compromised credentials can lead to data breaches and what cyber criminals do with the credentials once they've been obtained. I'm also going to kind of go through the current landscape that we're dealing with and threats against small, medium businesses and how they're evolving with increased remote workforce. Lastly, I'll take you through action steps that you can take now to educate your employees and your users to kind of create that culture of cybersecurity. So how are all these breaches happening? The dark web is a huge marketplace for stolen data and personal information. After a data breach or a hacking incident or a phishing attack, business and personal information is often bought and sold on the dark web by identity thieves looking to make money off your good name and any number of information associated with you. You may ask why we can't just shut down the dark web if this is used for crime. The dark web was actually created by the US Department of Defense for whistleblowers situations, allowing sources to remain anonymous. And it's used by a lot of folks in different countries with repressed speech. When you watch your local news or the national news, you have likely heard of news stories that have mentioned phishing attacks, ransomware, and data breaches. I remember hearing about the WannaCry virus, not that long ago, targeting computers running on the Microsoft Windows operating system by encrypting data and demanding ransomware payment in Bitcoin. But many attacks don't have to be as big and as notorious as WannaCry to take down your entire company. As recently as May of this year, the Colonial Pipeline was hit by ransomware that stemmed from a single compromised credential. It was an old VPN account that was never disabled, and that old account information was sold in the dark web. And well, what's the result? Well, you probably did see it in the news. Colonial Pipeline's gas line distribution to the East Coast was shut down for nearly a week. And kind of around the same time, you might have heard of JBS, the largest meat packing processing company in the world, that they also fell victim to a cyber attack a couple of weeks after. And that attack forced the company to halt production at its US beef plant, while operations, in Australia and Canada were also hit pretty hard. There's something all these breaches and phishing attacks have in common, and that's the human element. Today, your employees are your number one risk. You can have the best firewalls in place, but all it takes is for your company to fall victim to a ransomware attack, is an employee sharing their credentials in a phishing email, or maybe your employee clicks on a bad link on the internet. Just really one click away, your entire network can be infected. To really paint the picture for you, this infographic right here is an example of all the third-party applications we all use in pretty much our everyday job function. Given how many platform businesses use on a given day, you don't have to connect too many dots to realize that you've got information that cyber criminals want and can sell on the dark web. Think about all the data that lives within these sites, like these customer records, payroll data, your financial information. Keep in mind that the only thing that connects us to all of these websites are your emails and passwords. And when cyber criminals get access to your email and passwords, they don't just steal the information. They can also use that email account to distribute malware or launch phishing attacks targeting your contacts. Also, when fraudsters get a hold of emails and passwords, they can use bots or an automated process to start firing endless variations on email password combinations at other sites. And because so many people use the same email and passwords across multiple accounts, it actually becomes highly possible that a fraudster can end up getting access into your bank account using stolen credentials from even your coffee loyalty program. Previous employees can also pose a serious risk if their passwords on any of these accounts are still active.
Hey, Sam, I'd like to interject a recent situation with one of our clients. The accounting person was emailing a particular entity to send a $11 million wire transfer. And they just recently went from a .org to a .com. And one of the bad guys put an S on the end of one of the names of the company. And so the domain looked the same. And this just happened the last 2 days. And what they did is they were able to call the bank to let the bank know that they were changing their domain and to please do this and do that. And when it was done, for right now, put a hold on that $11 million wire transfer until they finished putting their information in, right? Luckily, somebody did a heads up and was able to thwart that, right? But there's a lot of companies out there that would work. So, that's just a recent $11 million example.
That's it's not, sadly, not the first time I've heard of those type of situations. We do come across, and I have come across some incidents like this. A little less in terms of the financial hit. It wasn't 11 million. It was thousands of dollars though, so still pretty impactful. Where information was intercepted. So information on a user, they sat along it was a small law firm. They sat in their network for, we don't know how long. We never did the forensic on them because this was a client of mine from a different managed service provider, and they had actually pretended, they social engineered the way what we call spear phishing, and they pretended to be the partner, one of the partners in the law firm, and they were in communication with the other partner in the law firm, and they were trying pretty much the same way. They gave an updated wiring transfer amount and asked the other managing partner, an owner, to transfer the money into that wiring, and he almost did. He told me that he almost did send the money to his partner because he thought it was his partner, but then he looked closer into it, and it was just a slight variation in his email name that he didn't catch in the beginning of the communication, where he then noticed that he wasn't actually communicating with his managing partner as well, and thank goodness that happened, right? So they saved themselves thousands of dollars, and things like this happen more often, and credentials are becoming more exposed pretty much. I want to say every single day, because you can see all these applications just in this graphic alone. And we're all kind of creatures of habit. We use the same passwords all the time, and sometimes your users might even be using their email addresses to sign up for personal things as well, and they're probably using the same passwords for personal and business related applications that they use. So we do need to focus on looking at that, and I'll definitely share with everyone how to protect yourself and also your employees from not causing the next data breach and not causing anything like potential scam or potential phishing attack. Oops, my apologies. My mouse is not working. There we go. So there's really, no matter what industry or company or how large your company size is, all businesses must adhere to certain laws and regulations as part of your operations. We should all be no stranger to data privacy. Since 1996, doctors' offices have needed to be compliant with our healthcare records by abiding to HIPAA regulations. So just like medical offices, business need to be aware of any compliance laws that they face. In 2019, the state of New York rolled out New York Shield Act, and they joined California and other states where the government has mandated regulations surrounding how its residents' data is handled. Being neglect to these regulations can impose even larger fines in the scenario your company falls victim to ransomware attack or data breaches. And we're seeing new regulations kind of pop up all the time in terms of how to protect user data and protecting user data and securing that data. So it won't surprise me if anything else kind of pops in down the line, with new state regulations that way. And I think customers are also really savvy now in wanting to know what an organization is doing to protect their information. I know, I look into that. I know that, of course, my colleagues and friends, we look into where's our information going, right? I mean, our information is everywhere nowadays. So we really want to know, how is this organization protecting our information, whether or not it's small, medium, or large type organization. So it's definitely something that we should take a look at. Oh, sorry, I apologize. My mouse has its mind of its own. So now I want to kind of get into some examples of the data that's in the dark web. Now, of course, I never promote anybody to go into the dark web. It's definitely not something that that I want to promote here. So the dark web is shrouded in mystery, and quite rightly so. It's it was created by the U.S. Navy to offer more anonymity to users than the surface web that we use on a daily basis. The dark web has become synonymous with digital criminal underworld, where anything is sold, from weapons to drugs to stolen credit card information. The dark web is actually a portion of the deep web, and it's intentionally hidden, and it's inaccessible through standard web browsers. So you can't just launch Chrome or Firefox to access the dark web, or the dark net, as it's sometimes called. Users need to go through specific software such as Tor, which stands for the Onion Router. Yes, it sounds like a really weird name, but onion routing is how people navigate the dark web or communicate anonymously. Because of this, it's a hotbed for stolen data, as you can see from this particular screenshot. The people you see on a daily basis, the barista who makes your coffee, the bus driver who takes your kids to school, the neighbors who wave to each other every morning, could all be using fake identities to hide away unsavory past. Just a few years ago, such a scenario would have been completely far-fetched and some sort of plot line that you would see on a Netflix series that's called You. But recently, the dark web has made it extremely easy for anyone wanting to start a new life to simply buy themselves a brand new identity. The dark web gives identity seekers unparalleled access to counterfeit and stolen personal documents. Things like passports, driver's license, birth certificates, bank accounts, and even educational documents like bachelor's and master's degrees. All those things must be expensive, right? Not necessarily. The cost of a US passport bought via the dark web starts at around $710 US. ID cards and driving licenses, they start around $200. And a brand new social security card number, that costs anywhere from $2 to $5. Now, before you think about trying to access the dark web, there's no quality assurance checks on the dark web. Everything that you purchase has a potential of being fake, ineffective, and dangerous. And the buyer has every possibility of being defrauded. And of course, it's 100% illegal. So definitely don't condone it. But I do want to show you this screenshot here that one of our analysts has grabbed to kind of give you an idea of how inexpensive this particular is. You can see this is an example of a French passport that comes with the utility bill. And if you check out the price, it's pretty reasonable, right? 13 bucks, you know, for a passport and a utility bill, so that you can actually go ahead and live your fraudulent life. Here's an example in this screenshot, a credit card data dump. You can actually curate a whole list based on geography, and there are also instructions for the billing address. So payment card info is one of the most widespread items for sale on the black market these days. Payment professionals, merchants, and consumers should understand that as soon as there is a breach of data in any form, that information is going directly to the dark web. Stolen credit card numbers can range from anywhere from 11 cents to nearly $1,000 on the dark web websites. Here's another example here from USA business bank accounts with routing numbers that are for sale here. This one instructs buyers to also search for a social security number online so that they can gain full access to the bank accounts. You can see here a little bit of the details there. And again, not too expensive here. Of course, you can pay in euro here and a bunch of different cryptocurrency that you can also pay with. Here's an example of a clone card kind of crew that is selling a really large clone credit card package here. This is a full package purchased for fraudsters. So this includes stolen name, social security number, birth date, account numbers, pretty much anything that you need to use that card effectively. Sites like this will even discreetly mail you the card so your neighbors have no idea what you're up to. You can leave reviews for sites like this as well, similar to how you would leave your company a Google review or Amazon Marketplace. They want return business. So it acts very similar to what we see kind of in the surface web and when we purchase something online. This screenshot here illustrates how easy it is to actively search for leaked databases. This also includes the Time Warner Cable business class, which can be used to target small, medium businesses. Despite the presence of actual criminal activity on the dark web, the process of stolen corporate data sets ending up for sale is long and complex, requiring malicious human actors with well above average technical know-how with access to closed networks of trusted individuals. A leak of administrative credentials typically heightens the risk of further systems and sensitive materials being compromised. A few years back, roughly 4 million records containing personal details of Time Warner Cable customers were discovered stored on an Amazon server without a password. Here's a screenshot on how you can purchase data about employees from various companies and various different sizes. Businesses are also pretty common targets for dark web criminals because they tend to have money, and they also don't feel as guilty when they are targeting companies, businesses. Here is AlphaBay was actually a popular site in the dark web. In fact, it actually acts very similar to eBay. And authorities say that the site trafficked drugs, fake and stolen IDs, computer hacking tools, firearms, counterfeit goods, and the list goes on. The site also facilitated services such as money laundering. As a company, AlphaBay went so far as to hire scam watchers to monitor and put a stop to scams on their already illegal website. So AlphaBay employees employed public relations manager responsible for outreach to users and broadcasters, illicit trade community. The site was also employed moderators to resolve any disputes and refund payments when necessary. Overall, this company, AlphaBay, took a 2% to 4% commission on all deals made on their site. And that added up. The cyber criminal behind this illegal AlphaBay, dark web version of eBay site, he amassed a fortune of over $23 million before it was shut down. It's a business out there. That's why they want this information from us. They want to steal that information. And discounts are not just for holiday season. So you can see here, countless legitimate businesses are offering, discounts or altering their services to turn a profit during the pandemic. Cyber criminal forms are absolutely no different. A hacking group by the name SSH Hacker is offering Facebook account hacking services with a 15% discount code with a promotional code for COVID-19 on the deep dot marketplace. So they were using the pandemic and offering pandemic discounts, similar to kind of what you see here in the screenshot here for a holiday discount during Christmas time. Another post offered customer service around the clock. On another website, a cyber criminal added, due to the current situation in the world, we are providing a 20% discount on all of your services with the promotional code COVID, 2019 until the end of April. So they're really trying to take advantage of the fact that, a lot was going on during that year. And these tactics are, being used by cyber criminals to attract new buyers. They're really nice. They're really definitely trying to be festive. Here is a screenshot, and it's kind of showing you classic supply and demand. This data set is so popular that it actually sold out. Another interesting tidbit, whenever you see kind of the term fulls, let me point that out where that is right here. When you see that terminology, fulls, on a data set, it actually means that there's enough information that's provided to commit identity theft. And this one over here, I say that this is a perfect representation of the legitimacy of the dark web. Our analysts pulled this job posting, which looks exactly like something that you might see on Indeed or LinkedIn. Modern cyber attacks, such as sophisticated phishing attacks, can be highly profitable for cyber criminals. The cost of launching a phishing attack is low, and a single successful cyber attack can yield thousands or even millions of dollars in revenue for the criminal selling your information. Having a proven, predictable business model has enabled cyber criminals to scale and attract investors or folks looking to make money. In a market where money can be made, you will find a pool of talented individuals. This job ad for a software designer on the dark web, the position starting salaries at $765,000. And over the course of 2 years, this person would make close to over $1.1 million. It is legitimate business out there. And hey, I wish I was making that kind of salary, but I have morals. And here you can, as we see the rise in video conferencing with remote employees, I'm sure a lot of people have heard, those Zoom bombers. Cyber criminals are taking advantage of vulnerable users. The Zoom accounts that were posted on the dark web, individuals are using that exposed account credentials from those Zoom accounts to troll various meetings, including classrooms. So it wasn't all Zoom's fault. It was, a combination of a lot of people using weak passwords that that account information was posted out there for those Zoom bombers to take advantage of. And it's not just information for sale in the dark web. You can also buy hacking tools as well. So ransomware is a form of malware where cyber criminals attack your system with malicious code. Their intent is to lock you out of your system and encrypt your important and sensitive data. Ransomware as a service borrows from the software as a service model. This subscription-based malicious model enables even more of the novice cyber criminal to launch ransomware attacks without much difficulty. Ransomware took off because it tends to be much more lucrative than data breaches. And with the rise of ransomware as a service contributed greatly to exponential growth of ransomware attacks. Here in the next snap here, you can see one of the snapshots of the ransomware as a service, what one of those hacking tools look like. This vicious model is so enticing to some cyber criminals that you can even see that ransomware as a service providers advertisements on the dark web. There are a lot of reasons why cyber criminals are attracted to this type of franchise-like deployment. First and foremost, it enables the ransomware authors to earn some money quickly. As for the creator of the code, it decreases the need for them to write malicious code. They can simply rent out easy to use packages at relatively low prices from the dark web, and that allows them to make even more money off of their work. And phishing kits are another very effective and efficient way for cyber criminals to cause some serious damage. Kits are available for purchase that allow individuals to create fake landing pages for various websites that can be used in a phishing attack. It's so easy and even includes all the necessary code. I obviously don't recommend that someone uses this information to become a cyber criminal, as these activities are highly illegal. But phishing as a service industry is making easy to use phishing attack tools. You can even buy full-blown campaigns, including content to send out to your own phishing and doing your own phishing attacks, plus a list of emails that you can purchase as well in the dark web. And here's an example of that. And it's really hard to tell the difference between kind of a fake landing page and something that is legitimate here. And here's an example. They're so good right now that it's really, really tough to tell. I mean, this is a side-by-side of a fake landing page and the legitimate landing page for Facebook. And if you weren't paying too closely, I would say of the URL, you wouldn't know which one is real, right? Because those threat actors they're kind of counting on the fact that you are not paying attention, especially now that we're all kind of remote. We might not necessarily be in the office. And even if we're in the office, we also might be, not paying attention to certain things. Here's another example that's out there. It's really hard to tell which one's real and which one's fake. It used to be as easy as, simple English spelling mistakes, but we don't even really see that now. Here's another example here. Bank. I think they're doing a fantastic job. That's how they're getting a lot of our information. And phishing attacks have been on the rise for years. Hackers will always exploit a crisis, and the pandemic is no different. Since last year, cyber criminals have leveraged the pandemic to stage all manners of cyber attack, from ransomware takeovers of hospital systems to private network hacking. And as of March, the number of cyber attacks related to the pandemic grew from a few hundred daily to over 5,000 in one day alone. Cyber attacks continue to rise to the point where in April of of last year, the FBI released an official statement on the increase of phishing scams using the pandemic. Here's an example of what one of those emails look like and some key indicators of phishing emails. So here's one actually that was sent out, and it was sent out to the Miller Supply employees. And you'll see here that at quick glance, you might not necessarily notice that this isn't really coming from Miller Supply, right? So you have to really do pay attention that instead of an M, you're actually seeing two N's. And other things are generic, usually sense of urgency. Sometimes you're going to find, bad grammar and spelling mistakes in there. Not always. They are becoming very sophisticated for everything that I have personally seen. You're always going to see possibly an attachment that contains malware or a link, a very suspicious bad link. And there's SMS phishing attacks as well. I don't know if anybody here has gotten any of these, but they aren't far off from misleading emails as well. And the goal is to, again, trick you to believing that the message has arrived from a trusted person or a trusted organization, and then convincing you to take action that gives the attacker your information, like bank account, login credentials, for example. Pretty recently, I actually got a text message a few months back. It was from an 800 number asking me for my Amazon password reset code that was sent to me via an email verification. It did take me a second, but it did dawn on me that an organization like Amazon's, they're not going to be asking me for my password reset code as a form of verification. And as a matter of fact, it was a cyber criminal trying to social engineer me to sharing my reset code so that he can take over my account. And with phishing being so common, I wanted to share some tips with everyone on here. The CDC does recommend that we take at least 20 seconds to wash our hands. So I want to kind of use that best practice and move that towards 20 seconds of taking a look at our emails before we action any items in there. So legitimate companies are not going to call you by, they usually call you by your name, sorry. Phishing emails typically use very generic salutations such as dear valued member, dear account holder, or dear customer. If a company you deal with required information about your account, the email would call you by name and would probably direct you to contact them via phone. Legitimate companies don't request your sensitive information over email. Chances are, if you receive an unsolicited email from an institution that provides a link or an attachment and asks you to provide sensitive information, it's probably a scam. Legitimate companies have domain emails, so they won't be using a Gmail account. Legitimate companies don't send out unsolicited attachments. Unsolicited emails that contain attachments, really they reek of hacker. Typically authentic institutions don't randomly send you emails with attachments, but instead direct you to download the document or the files on their own website. So how, what does this all mean? Like, how do we actually protect our employees since we know that there's just a lot bombarding them? My first advice really is to partner with a trusted security advisor. Major events like the pandemic create brand new opportunities for cyber criminals to exploit, but smart defense doesn't let them. These tips here can help keep the systems and data safer in certain times. I also suggest monitoring your company's domain or alerts that your company information is being sold in the dark web. That's a very proactive approach. If you know that something is being sold related to your domain in the dark web, you can actually take action. So you can change that password regularly, especially if it's found in the dark web. I would also suggest using a VPN connection while working. Don't open unknown emails. Keep your software updated regularly. Use multi-factor authentication and use work devices for work purposes. Also create a remote employee or a hybrid remote employee work policy in place. So I'd like to say thank you, for taking the time today to listen to a little bit about how to kind of help you with all the digital risks that we have associated with you. I want to take you back to Ron, who has a special offer to kind of close off this webinar today. Ron, over to you.
Well, I want to thank everyone for attending today's webinar. We hope you feel it was informative, and hopefully it makes a difference on how you view security training for your business. I want to thank Sam for doing such a great job. And remember, just give me a call at the number on the screen. Most of you have the number already in the slide, and shoot me an email, and we can set up your free dark web scan for being here today. I'll also be gladly able to discuss our advanced security package that does include ID agent and Bullfish. We'll be doing these things regularly in the future, hopefully with little less hiccups that go on. I learned just a while ago, we did a practice session yesterday, and for some reason the system automatically sent everybody a, hey, thanks for not attending. So hopefully we'll fix that next time. I didn't know practicing was going to be not perfect, but some situations in life you got to take as you get them, right? You all got here. So I want to thank you all and enjoy the rest of your day. And I hope to hear from you soon.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Ron.
Okay.